Yes, who am I? Yeah. Who am I in this world? Who am I? Right. So who am I? I am a mum of two wonderful sons. They are amazing. Mic closer. They're 24 and 21. I know I don't look it. And actually, for all those people who thought you might recognise me, it's because I put a bit of slap on today. Not me though, I've got my hair like that. And looking like I've been dragged to edge backwards. I'll push my head anything so. I am an entrepreneur with a passion for making a difference. That is it. That is the whole point of everything that I do, is to try and make a difference. I am an expert by experience. I'm told this all the time when I do stuff for free. Right, so they're saying, you are an expert by experience. Come and do this, volunteer to do this for us, which I do regularly. And I'm a carer, and I know that there is much more to life than being a carer. There is, because once they start to get a bit older, actually, they don't need you as much if you've done all the right steps before them. I'm a role model. I try really hard to be a role model to other parents. And I'm a skilled community member with a career in empowering others. Somebody else wrote this shit for me, sorry. Somebody, one of my directors, wrote it. You know, like I was having to do some spiel for somebody to get some money off of me, some funding. Right, I've lived with autism for the last 26 years. That's because my husband is on the autistic spectrum. We've been together for 26 years, so they can have a relationship. It can last. They know how to do it most of the time. My youngest child was diagnosed 16 years ago, so he's been doing it a long time. My eldest was diagnosed 15 years ago, and that's when my husband was diagnosed too. So it was like, this looks like a bit of hereditary thing going on. So although it took us 3 years to get our first diagnosis, it didn't mean that we were not living with it. So I have lots of parents who come and say, is it okay if I join this group because we haven't got a diagnosis? Of course it is. Go to a support group. Be supported. That's what it's about. I love my life. I love my job. My passion is to support and empower others. That is the message. And that's what you guys all do together, and that's what this is doing. Sometimes there's not enough hours in the day, the week, the month, the year. I carry around so much stuff. Sandra's just said to me, what's in your bag? Like everything, just in case. So, anxiety and stress, do you know what that is? Yeah, you do. You live with it, but do you know what it's doing? So, what are the physical effects that you are having? How do you know when you're feeling anxious or stressed? So you might know what your kids are because they're showing these displays, these behaviours, but what are you doing? So you might have visual disturbances, so that's some bit blurred vision, feeling dizzy, faint, lightheaded. Might have a dry mouth, guess what? Dry mouth myself right now. You might have difficulty breathing or swallowing, feelings of choking. So you have kids, the kids are doing exactly the same, but so are you. You know, you're having these same difficulties. Heart rate might be beating just a little bit faster. You might have some chest pain or a tightening of the chest, so you're having you're a bit stressed, you're a bit anxious. Tummy feels a bit funny, butterflies, or like you've got a knot. Or sometimes you might have the sense that there's something wrong, but you don't know what it is. You know there's something wrong, but what is it? You know? So you might feel sick, discomfort in your tummy, and increased need to go to the loo. So all of these are symptoms of feeling anxious or stressed. You might start to sweat as well. Stop laughing at me, Vicky. Right. You might have pale skin. So a bit like Lee's saying, your kids have got those black eyes and stuff, it's because you're starting to be, you know, like, oh God, feeling really ill. Aches and pains, muscles hurt, and you may feel shaky. Oh my God, I am displaying all of these symptoms right now while standing on it. It's like some Twilight Zone. You might have numbness or pins and needles. I don't know about, but you know, it's time. So, the after effects of this are vision sharpening, and you may be able to notice everything, and this is hypervigilance. So even our children are noticing this, so are you as parents. So you become hypervigilant about stuff. You are noticing stuff you don't need to notice, but you notice it, and then you're dealing with it. You need to not be dealing with it, you need to kind of be able to tune it out just a little bit. Body fluids such as saliva are redirected into the bloodstream, which gives you that difficulty swallowing. So these, I'm now telling you the reasons and what is happening to you. Your airways widen to let in more oxygen to your lungs. Your heart pumps harder to send oxygen and energy to those muscles. A bit of that fight or flight stuff. You're going to run away and send all that stuff so you can do that. And your liver releases stored energy, right? So it's doing that as well. Your stomach and your gut start to shut down. Blood and energy is diverted to your muscles, right? So then it is all about your fight or flight. Now you are passing all of this on to your children because you are, you know, you're going up and up and up, and the kids are going up and up and up, and then you're on this really lovely cycle which you can't step off. Your skin sweats. To cool down those working muscles. The blood is diverted to those muscles. And your muscles are ready to be in use and tense, ready to react to do that fight or flight. And then you have a calcium discharge from those tense muscles. Then we have the psychological effects. So we have this apprehension and fear, and you're worrying about the future, worrying about losing control of yourself or others becoming ill, having an accident, dying. So you kind of go on this spiral then about worrying about the future and what's going to happen, and you know. And we do it a little bit as my kids are older. What's happened is that I now worry more about the future than I did. So now I worry about what happens when I'm not here. But that doesn't get me anywhere unless I'm doing something proactive about it. So, you know, getting your will sorted or all of those sort of things. It's about being proactive about it. So you're sitting there in the middle of the night, as we do as parents of SEN kids, you sit up in the middle of the night and go, oh my God, what's going to happen now when I die? You know, it's about being a bit more proactive about it. You feel on edge, tense, you've got heightened alertness, so you're noticing far too much. You're restless, unable to relax. And you have difficulty concentrating and your mind going blank. This is happening to your children too. I know Lee spoke about all this, but this is, so it happens to your children, you're recognising your kids, you're doing all those things to get the kids ready and all that stuff, and calming all that stuff down, but you don't relate it to yourself, you stop doing it for you. But actually for you to be well enough to look after children with an SEN or an additional need, you need to look after yourself first. You know, so we use the thing, you know, on an aeroplane, you put the mask on yourself first, then you look after the others. That's what you guys need to be doing. You might be a little bit irritable if you're anxious and stressed, and difficulty getting to sleep and having sleep disturbance. Definitely. I'm just saying, you know, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh my God. Sometimes you might have feelings that objects are unreal, or you're a little bit distant, like you're not really here, that you've kind of stepped out of yourself, and that is, you know, some real severe anxiety and stress. You might be sensitive to being criticised, rejected or ignored. So this might, you know, have a detrimental effect if you are feeling that. You may have some low self-esteem. So we have some common coping strategies used in a stressful situation. Right. So this is what we do as parents. You spend a lot of time thinking about what happened in the past, the mistakes you've made and the problems that you've had. So we spend far too much time thinking about what we did. You get anxious worrying about the possible future stuff. and what mistakes you might make, or what problems you may have. So with that, you then isolate yourself from other people and you try to avoid those distressing situations. So, like Lee said, kids put their hood up. We shut the doors. Don't go out. Stop seeing anybody. Stop going to our support groups, because that's a brilliant situation to be in, where you just spend a load of time alone. You make yourself numb with drugs or alcohol. So, we're adults, that's what we're doing, we're using those instead. You take your feelings out on other people, so you might get excessively angry, or you try to control them. You might engage in dangerous behaviour, such as cutting, hitting, picking at, or burning yourself, or pulling your own hair out. So self-harming, it is quite possible that we start doing that. And self-harm might look different in adults than it does in children. So what are we doing to self-harm ourselves? Well, we might be isolating ourselves, that is a form of self-harm. We might overeat, that might be a form of self-harm. You may engage in unsafe sexual activities such as having sex with strangers or unprotected sex. I know, it was a bit controversial, I didn't know to put it in, but I thought, I'll give it a go. You never know. I'm not asking for a survey, so you put your hands up. You avoid dealing with the causes of your problems, such as the dysfunctional or abusive relationship. So you might stick in something or stay with something that you actually is not good for you, but you do it anyway because it's just too stressful, too anxious to actually carry on. You use food to punish or control yourself by eating too much, not eating at all, or throwing up what you eat. That is a form of self-harm. You may attempt suicide or engage in high-risk activities like reckless driving or taking dangerous amounts of drugs or alcohol. This is something, I know these are extremes, but it is actually something that people are possibly doing. This one, lots of parents do, I know, I do support groups and stuff. You avoid pleasant activities such as social events or exercise because you feel that you don't deserve it to feel better. I've got to live in this because this is what my life is, I should be like this, but actually, it doesn't. You don't have to. You can do nice things, you can go out. You surrender to the pain and you resign yourself to living a miserable and unfulfilling life. Sometimes you might have heard your kids saying that, I deserve this, I'm having a really rubbish time, I'm just going to live like this for the rest of my life. Sometimes we do it too. So what are the costs of doing those coping strategies? Well, you miss out on good things that might be happening now, and you regret missing those things too. So then you have depression about the past, but the past is the past, isn't it? We can't change what happened in the past, you have to, move forward. You miss good things that might be happening now, so you have the anxiety about the future. You spend more time alone, and as a result, we feel even more depressed. The more that we spend isolating ourselves, the more depressed we start to feel. It might lead to addiction, loss of money, work problems, legal problems, relationship problems, health consequences. All of these because we've engaged in those dangerous coping strategies. We might lose friends, and I know as an SEN parent, most of my friends are SEN parents. My regular friends, well, they didn't like having a parent who's got an additional child, because, oh God, she's a real pain. She turns up late for everything, or, we've got to make exceptions for this child because he doesn't want to sit with us and eat, or he wants to wear his ear defenders. Dear God, so these people are gone, right? I don't need them in my life, it's fine. You might lose some romantic relationships, you might lose some family members, that also might happen to you, especially if you start distancing yourself from your family or your friends. Other people do avoid you. They certainly do. You might have some loneliness, you might feel bad about hurting other people. So that is if you've done, you've been engaged in some dangerous behaviours. Gosh, it's a bit dark. It's right in here. I definitely had that. Anorexia, not that. Bulimia, there's health consequences. You might have some need medical treatment. You might be embarrassed. You might have some shame, and you might be depressed. Right. Gosh. So, many people with overwhelming emotions panicked when faced with an argument, rejection, failure, or any other painful. So that's why we're starting to isolate ourselves. We don't want to confront anybody. We don't want to be dealing with anything. We're worried that an argument might happen. We're worried that there might be a rejection, and we're worried that we might fail. So what happens is that when we're in pain, we become angry, upset, and we place blame. But no matter who you blame, you still continue to suffer. So you place blame, but then you're still suffering. Sometimes this increases the pain and worsens how you feel. So when we start to do something about it, getting angry or upset then stops, and you start to see what is really happening. So we take out the anger and upset, and you can actually see the situation. So very much about the same as what Lee was saying. I'm sitting there, when he's talking, I'm like, oh no, I think I'm going to be repeating a lot of what Lee was saying. But it is about taking a second and you see what is really happening, and then you can deal with it. So by getting angry and thinking that a situation should never have happened, you miss the point that it did happen and that you have to deal with it. So it is that, okay, so this happened, now what am I going to do? You have to deal with it. It's about avoiding it is not the answer, really. We can be overcritical about a situation, and that prevents us from taking steps to change it. So we beat ourselves up about stuff, like, well, I shouldn't have done that. I really shouldn't have done that. Oh, God, that makes me a really bad parent. I'm a really bad person. Nobody's going to like me. And we're being really overcritical of ourselves. But actually, our parents, well, I don't know, some might, but, my parents didn't have a child with additional needs. They didn't know how to, no idea what it's like to walk in my shoes, to step in my shoes for a little bit. They try really hard, really hard, and they're wonderful. But, my dad said to me the other day, you can't blame autism for everything. No, God, he's been doing this for such a long time. And he's been brilliant, and then he says that. Oh, God. And it is, but then I could be overcritical of him, and then stop seeing him, because, then go, all right, well, you're just ridiculous. Fancy saying that. You've been dealing with this for a very long time. You know my son, he's 24, he's been diagnosed for 16 years. He's had this all this time. I could be overcritical, but I didn't. I went, all right then, maybe, but it was on a bad day. Because that happens, don't it? We all have bad days. So you can't change the past, right? It is definite. It happened, it's done. You can't change it. If you spend time fighting what happened in your past, nothing will improve. Spend far too much time worrying about what happened 3 days ago, 6 weeks ago. Took my Charlie 3.5 years to be diagnosed. I could still be fighting them. But, oh man, the system's rubbish, it's not working. It's the same today. It's still taking that long for kids to get diagnosed. I can't change it. It happened. I'm living with what's happening today, now. Acknowledge your present situation. So what is happening to you now? It's about picking your battles, choosing what needs to be dealt with now. So you can't be fighting for something that happened 6 years ago, and actually something's happening today. So it's happening in school this morning. Something has happened on the way home from school tonight. Something happened at my son's work today. Those sort of things I need to be dealing with, not what happened to me 6 years ago. Do not judge the event or criticise yourself. Just need to deal with it. Judging it is really, really difficult. You need to take on board that your present situation exists because of a long chain of events that began way in the past. So it's very much about, Charlie was diagnosed 16 years ago, so he had autism 16 years ago. But that happened, so what happened today is because he's diagnosed with autism all that time ago. So it's about dealing with right now. And that is how we are managing, coping with these overwhelming emotions, is by dealing with the present situation. I'm not saying that we agree with bad behaviour in others, but we are saying by getting angry and blaming the situation doesn't change it. The situation is happening. Fatigue. Now this came up only because there was a post on Facebook the other day. I was really interested. And it was about autism, it was about fatigue and well-being and parents being able to manage their children. It was especially mothers, because actually fathers didn't come forward to take part in this paper. Shocker. And it is about fatigue and your well-being. You know, it's recognising what fatigue is. So, you say to your mums in the playground, if you've got children who are neurotypical and go to a mainstream school, say, oh God, I'm exhausted, I'm really tired, I'm really fatigued. And they go, no, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted, I've run around. There's a difference between the two. So fatigue is actually the body's natural response to feeling overwhelmed and exhausted by life's challenges. Fatigue will cause havoc in your family. It really will. It can jeopardise your relationships with your partner. So what causes fatigue? Well, according to this research, it's about being a parent of a child with autism. There you go. And it is actually significantly larger in parents of children with autism. They didn't check it against other disabilities, but against children who were neurotypically or developing normally. And there was 50 mothers who were in this survey. They were only allowed to talk about one of their children because they found actually in this that most of the families had more than one child diagnosed. And that they were significantly higher in fatigue managing a child. So fatigue causes poor motivation, so being motivated to do things is really difficult. You might beat yourself up about that, you know, like, sat on the sofa today and I just watched the whole box set. I should have been doing something else, and we beat ourselves up about it. Fatigue also causes depression, so it makes us feel low. We have this low mood. It causes stress. Believe it or not, lack of physical activity, because we're not doing, because we're too tired, And it also social isolation, because you've sat inside and watched Netflix. But it also, and this is the real key part, and this is what they brought up in this paper, is difficulty with planning or problem-solving skills. So, you're really fatigued, you've got a child who is on the autistic spectrum or has got any additional need, you are unbelievably tired and exhausted. It has affected your ability to plan or problem solve. So all of those skills that we need to be managing the child is a little bit difficult when we're fatigued. How do we manage it? Well, go to support groups, turn up, talk to other parents. You find then that you're not alone. This is actually happening to others. Socialise with friends. You do need to get out. You need to do something. It might be that you do 5 minutes a day, 3 times a week, where you do something with somebody else. Get out and have a walk. Do something. Have some physical activity. All of these things will help with fatigue. Believe it or not, it's like, I am so exhausted and now you're telling me go out for a walk. It works. It really does. Sleep. I know that's really hard because sleep is My kids didn't sleep. Now he sleeps during the day, he's awake all night, completely nocturnal, and I'm like, is he happy? Yeah, it's good as gold. Can we manage it? Yeah, it's absolutely fine. Not when he had to go to school though. Didn't work so much. But he, like Lee said, he only needed 2 or 3 hours sleep. He's awake. He wanted to talk to me about Thomas the Tank Engine. Well, now he wants to talk to me about Formula 1. And some of you have heard me talk before, he's obsessed with football, but the Bundesliga, which is the German. Now, the other son is obsessed with Aston Villa. She's fine because, like Lee said, I took a special interest in his special interest. I now have a season ticket. I am a massive fan. I am a level 1 football coach because that's what I needed to do, to actually spend some time with him and to be interested. The Bundesliga though. So, I have to know about Borussia Dortmund. Sometimes they play on a Friday night. So I have to make sure, because the question will come, did you see, whatever his name is, I can't remember his name, but, you know, he scored, you know, and we have that bit of a conversation. Luckily his dad is also specially interested in Formula 1. Because now you just talk to each other, and I don't have to be involved in that conversation. Just say, okay then, ask your dad. But sleep, yeah, so, get it when you can. It doesn't say that just because you haven't slept at night, that when your child goes to school, that you can't have a sleep. But society says, right, you're not supposed to sleep, you should be doing something. You live a different life to other people, your life is different. So, you need to have a couple of hours once you've got them on the taxi or you've dropped them off at school and come home. Go to bed, it's all right, I promise. Give me permission. Anyone needs me to sign it off, I will. You can have it. It's absolutely fine. Eat a balanced diet. Take care of your own emotional health. That is done by doing those other things, going to support groups, speaking to people on Facebook, attending these groups, doing those sort of things. You could seek professional help. Oh my God. You could speak to your GP. Actually, it's a really good tool. Speak to your GP, let him know what's happening in your life. You know, when you get your DLA forms or your PIP forms, they go to your GP. You're not telling him what's happening. He doesn't know. You need to let him know. You need to let him know you're a carer. You can just go in for a chat. You are just allowed to do that. You don't have to have your leg falling off to see your GP. Absolutely fine. When the receptionist says to you, well, what do you want to see a GP for? Mind your own business. I'm not telling you. It's all right to say that. I'm not telling you. Respite. Sorry. I know this is really hard, but some parents do get respite. I never got it. I was doing too well, apparently. But respite will help with your fatigue management. Right. Distraction. This is another way of managing your fatigue, managing your overwhelming emotions. So sometimes doing something that makes you feel good is the best way to distract yourself. I bet you've all forgot what feels good or what to do to feel good. And that's normal, actually, that you don't know, you can't remember. But what we do say is you shouldn't wait till you're in that situation where you are overwhelmed. You definitely shouldn't. You need to do it before that. So a bit like in the lower arousal stuff, you do the stuff first, do the first steps, you don't get to chaos, you need to be doing those other things first. And do them regularly, because it helps. In fact, do something you enjoy at least once a day. So this could be, call a friend, you could do that. Go out and visit a friend. Oh my God, you got any? Well, it's an awkward people are. They're your friends. You sometimes forget that they're your friends, but they really are. Look what my friend did. She bought me this water, because she's amazing. But she's my SEN friend. I don't have any normal ones. I have one, sorry, I do have one. One normal friend. You could invite a friend over. Maybe not when your kids are home, because you know what they're like. Who's this person coming? What are they going to do? What do they smell like? When are they going? Yeah, when are they going? How long are they staying? You could text or message a friend, you could do it on Messenger, any other mediums are fine. Not advocating just Messenger. Organise an event. Look at these lovely ladies who did it. Look what they did. They organised this amazing thing. It's brilliant. Exercise. It's a bit like the healthy diet, but it does work, I promise. Lift weights. Do yoga, Tai Chi, Pilates. You know, the carers people, they offer the weekends away, don't they, which you could take up on. I know that you think you probably couldn't go to it because my kids won't allow me to go. Give it a whirl, see what happens. I bet they manage. Stretch your muscles. So do something, anything. Do something that's good. You need to make a list of the things that you like to do because you forgot what they were. And when you're really in a quandary, you're really upset, you also forget. Because remember, your planning and problem solving skills are out the window. So it is, when you're feeling a little calmer, make a list of things that you actually like to do. You know, it might not be like what I'm doing, it's standing up here, but I write these things as a relaxation. I read books. I read crazy journal articles so I can tell you about them, which this one is by Rebecca Giallo, and it was sponsored by the National Autistic Society. But it is, so I read that and I'm like, wow, that's really interesting, I really like that. That's what I like. You might not like that. You might like to go for a walk, but you might like to skate. You might like to ice skate. Can't think of anything worse myself, but you know, you need to make a list of the things that you like to do, keep them around so you can access them when your brain is not functioning properly. I'm done, actually, because I skipped through a load of the really depressing stuff.